Hey, it's Andrew Huang.
Sup, gangsters? Yo. Going live soon. Stand by. Doing a bit of a chat and Q&A. 1 minute, 15 seconds, and counting. Yo, Uncle Butt in the chat saying his own name. Sup, Uncle Butt. Yo, Andy. Yo, Miha. I'll show my face in a second. In fact, we can start early, can't we? I'm already here. You guys are here. Let's do it. Yo, people. All right, so today we are going to stream a little chat. So I'm going to jump on the Collective Intelligence Discord channel. And, oh, is that going to turn my camera on? What have I done? Alex, can you hear me? Yo. G'day, Carl. Hi, Kaylin. Pratish, yo, dude. How's it going? So, all right, guys. We're having a chat. Do you guys have anything you want to ask me? Have you got any questions? Any concerns? A couple of guys are going to jump on the voice chat with me, and we're gonna have a yarn. Yeah, Alex, do you want to let me know whether you can hear me in the Discord? I can't hear you if you're talking to me, by the way. Carl, I cover all sorts of music production stuff. There's not really a need so much to go so specifically to just look at things as though it's just Twilight. It's more relevant to talk about music production in general. Uncle Bud, I can't hear you. I can't hear chat in Discord, so maybe the problem's me. Let me oh wait, I did just hear a clonk. Cadabra, yo, can you hear me, dude?
Hello.
Hey, bro, how's it going? I can hear you. I can't hear Uncle or Alex though, and I don't know whether they're trying to say anything or.
I think they are not saying anything.
Okay, cool. Uncle Butt just tried to say something because his mic just came on. Oh.
What's up?
Yo, dude.
You can hear me?
Yeah, bro, I can hear you, man. I can
Nice.
fucking hear you, mate. Loud and clear. But still no Alex, but he may not be trying to talk. So,
Yeah, he's muted, I think.
okay, Alex. He messaged in the chat saying he tried to talk to me, but he could not hear. He can't hear me in Discord, only on the stream. Andy, you asked me about a bass. Yeah, we can talk about synthesis for sure. Yeah, we can cover stuff like that. Yeah, Alex, it's not just me that can't hear you. I don't think the other guys can hear you either.
Yeah, I can hear you.
How do I? Okay, guys, we got the first question. If you're interested in participating on helping this guy with an answer, so Kaylin is asking. I hope I'm pronouncing your name properly, dude. How do you get past writer's block or a lack of inspiration for production? Anybody? I can go if you want.
Play all 3 Witcher games and then go back to producing.
Play some video games. Kaylin, if you got a lack of inspiration for producing, this is a tough one, dude. It's such a tough one. Do you have inspiration for other things? I mean, do you just feel like you would rather be doing other things? Yeah, it's tough. I don't really suffer from having writer's block so much because I sit down and I make myself produce on days. Like, you know, there's nothing else I do. I just make it happen. I sit in front of the stream, and if what I make is shit, it's shit, and I just accept it. If I make something and it's good, and I accept that too. So, yeah, I don't know. Writer's block might also be like a bit of pressure that people are putting on themselves to actually, you know, do a trick, so to speak. It's like do that trick where it sounds good. It's like you can't always do that trick where it sounds good. So Carl says, since atmosphere in the track uses some low frequency to come through, it tends to mess with the bass line. Tips on avoiding that. EQ the atmosphere. I don't let, typically with atmosphere, I don't really let anything under, sometimes even 1,000 kilohertz come through. All right.
Use LFO too to sidechain.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Use something to move it out of the way when the kick and bass are playing or the kick is coming through. Yeah, Alex is still nothing, dude. Yo, Jamit, how's it going, dude? Yep. Yeah, Carl, yeah, EQ it, dude. Spread it wide as well, right? So your kick and bass are typically in the center channel. Your atmosphere can be sort of spread out of the center so that there feels like there's more separation between elements. Let me show you. I will open up Ableton just so I can do, if people ask about production stuff, so I can just quickly talk about that. So I'm just opening up Ableton now, and I'm going to show you what I do, right? Yeah, I'm doing good, Jamet. I'm doing good, dude. How you doing, buddy? Fuck, what's happening here? Jamet, we're on the Discord voice chat, dude, by the way, if you want. You can come chat to us. So can you see Ableton? Yeah, cool. All right. Oh, you can see my keyboard as well. That's probably not necessary. Turn that off. So this is the sort of thing that you can do on Atmosphere. So you get EQ3. A couple of things, right? We'll go LFO tool as well. Like Kadabra mentioned that you can use LFO tool. So 1/4 and pump it against a kick, right? Maybe not, always 100%. You can pull down the amount that it's modulating the volume. So you could pull it down to say like, I like around 70% or 75%. I think that's generally pretty good. It still lets through some of the sound even when the kick plays. It gives a nice pump. And you can obviously adjust the curve to whatever taste you like. But then this is what I'm doing. I'm typically doing this sort of thing. I'm definitely cutting generally at least around 200, but it always depends on the sound. So you can't really take like broad advice on how you should EQ it, but like maybe around sort of 500, let's say. And then with this one, I'd high shelf, right? Whoops, daisy. I'd high shelf, but I would make this side, right? So I'm going to boost the sides, and I could boost the sides by like, 4 decibels. Also depends on the sound, right? And if I felt like it needed it, I could do this as well. I could go another high shelf, and I could right-click this one, and I could put that as the mid, right? So I'm also cutting out of the mid, and I could even fucking say, all right, I don't want it come through on the mid really at all. Just going to boost it on the sides. So it's giving width to the sound, and you're doing it with an EQ rather than a plugin like wider. There's nothing wrong with wider, but maybe if you can achieve it in the EQ, might be better. That's the sort of thing I'd be doing, dude. Right, what do we got going on? Thalamus. Yo. Right, we got some chat. Kaylin, yeah, dude. Pressure's the biggest killer of creativity for a lot of people. Of course, there's always the other people that'll say like, nah, I need a deadline to be creative. So it's like so subjective to each individual person. But if you're sensitive to the stress of pressure, then and you're feeling like you need to turn a result or whatever, you're gonna suffocate whatever creativity you may have had within you. Okay, so how about Audio-Technica M70 headphones? I've got experience with the M50s. Does anybody have the M70s? Any of you guys?
I think he's saying about the R70X. It's a pretty good headphone, open back headphones, but you need a really good amp for that, so take this in mind if you are buying this, but it's a pretty good headphone.
Okay, so we got, Kadabra, Mind Mirror, Thalamus, Uncle Butt, we're all in the chat. Who's all here now? So we got Alex, but we can't hear him because something's wrong. We got Kadabra, we got Thalamus, we got Uncle Butt, we got Jamet, and we got Mathe. I'm not sure whether I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but we got a bunch of people in here. So for people that have just joined, we're having a chat today. So far I'm talking a lot, but I want to get the other guys talking a bit. Hey man,
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Heard
who was
someone? Yeah.
Yeah, I heard somebody. Was that you, Gail?
Gael.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's me.
G'day, mate.
good day or good night,
Morning,
maybe.
good morning.
I just wake
How's
up,
everyone?
so
Hey man, I literally just went to your channel to find a way to edit sound waves on MIDI. Could you help me with this? I'm using Live Light. OGM. What do you mean you're editing the sound waves, but it's a MIDI? What? Okay, so Andy, producers like Sophie say they're not interested in using samples in production since they can synthesize any sound they want from scratch. All right, boys, here's a big topic. Who's ready to chew into it? Should we use samples or should we synthesize?
we should use samples.
Why?
Oh, you can manipulate them, make great stuff out of them. You don't need to use them the way they are.
Exactly.
You can use for samples for grid, for example. There's a bunch of stuff you can do with samples. You can stretch them.
I think it depends.
Hey guys, can you hear me now?
Yeah, Alex.
I can hear you, dude.
Because if you are
Finally.
doing the sample, if you are doing this processing in the sample, it's easier. You just make the synthesis.
So, yeah, who else has got something to say about using samples or synthesizing sounds? Gail, what's your take on it, man? I want to hear from you. You got
I'm probably thinking that using samples are definitely not a bad thing. Like you can use them, no problem. But in the end, I really think that if you want to give your tracks a real unity and cohesivity, you will be at some point in your production journey, you will be forced to learn how to synthesize your own sounds. So that will be your signature sounds, maybe, or how could I say that? Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah,
totally makes sense.
If you samples from another person, it will sound good, but it won't sound your own unique sound. If that makes sense. And it's probably easier in the beginning to learn how to modify sample, just put it in your track and yeah, it's good to go. And nothing wrong with that in the beginning, but as soon as you start to search for your own unique sound, yeah, definitely look at sound design and synthesis in general, because that will really improve your own unique sound. That's really important at some point, in my opinion.
Yep, absolutely. Uncle, what about you, bro?
Yeah, in the end, you gotta do what works for you. I mean, I'm still a noob. I'm not able to synthesize, for example, a violin. So either use a generator which can produce violin sounds or use samples. In the end,
So
when you get better, you can start synthesizing your own sounds. But in the beginning, yeah, I think it's wiser to learn how to utilize samples and kind of make them your own. And then once you get to the point that you're advanced enough, experienced enough, yeah, you can really try and make everything your own by synthesizing them from scratch. Depends on what you want.
Yep, absolutely. Alex or Jamit, do you guys want to weigh in on it a bit? Jamit, I think you said something earlier. Do you want to elaborate on what you said? Or?
I think it depends. I mean, you can source your own samples, or you could go and pinch them freesound.org or something like that. So, and freesound.org can be good if you find something reasonably obscure. You want to be original. You don't want to just be sounding like I don't know, something from the 90s.
Yeah, cool. Alex, do you have much to say about that?
I think both is okay in my opinion. Let's be honest, even the big producers nowadays use samples as well. But as the other said, I mean, trying to synthesize your sounds is a little bit more to get your own unique sound, in my opinion. But you can also start with presets in the synthesizer and tweak them. to your wishes, maybe as a start.
Maybe
Yep.
resample a synthesis and then using in the sample you made to make another great stuff, different stuff.
I think it's fair to say that a lot of brilliant music has been made from sampling. So whichever method you take, I feel like it comes down to how the artist really wants to express themselves and whether they feel like that is like an authentic expression of themselves. I think that really carries a lot of weight with how the listener responds to it. I think there's a lot of psytrance that you could look at that's sample-based psytrance that's maybe given sampling a bad name in general, because sampling never really used to be a taboo, you know, like a lot of music exists, like entire styles of music exist because of samplers that were made. So yeah, it's an odd topic.
I think that's you could split the sampling in general, like hip hop, and using already existing melodies and mangle them and all that, and even using violin samples and already existing instruments. If you want to make another music out of that, yeah, sure, go for it. But in here, I was really talking about like Psytrance and the sample packs you could get on the internet and all that. Like that's really not the same sampling you are doing there. Like you're using someone else's one shots and you're not using someone else's melody, and that's really a different thing, I think, because in sampling an already existing track and making this an hip hop beat, for example, you'll be taking it to the next level, like make it your own for sure. But it's I don't see it the same way. In the end, using sample back is not bad, but it's not. I don't know how to express that, but maybe
I
you
still
can get
think it
to
limits your creativity in some way when you only use loops. I mean, okay, one shot is one thing, using one shots, but let's talk about those loops, melodic loops, for example. I mean, these loops are made by someone else. It's not your idea. It's not your technique. So using these samples is not the best way to express your musical ideas, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
kind of agree.
So, just so everybody that's watching now knows, we're currently on Discord, on the Collective Intelligence Discord. You'll find the link to it in the video description. Anybody's able to join this voice chat and participate in the chat with us. People in the chat can ask us questions and we'll answer them. So the sampling versus the synthesis question is something that we just got asked from the chat. Let's put it this way. It's never, ever going to be a bad thing to learn more about synthesis, and it's never, ever going to be a bad thing to learn more about music theory when you're creating music. You're never going to look back on things and think, fuck, man, I wish I never wasted all that time learning how to use Serum. Because that knowledge is universal to sound design, you know, like it's really essential. So we got Dash in the chat. Everybody say hey to Dash and check out his YouTube channel if you don't know it already.
Hey Dash, what's up, man?
Hey Dash.
And I've got something to show you guys that my friend Taiku just showed me about an hour ago. And I think it's a really, really exciting piece of technology. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that people can see what I'm looking at on my desktop. So here's the chat and everything. Check this out and let me know what you guys think of it. So the guys that are on Discord with me may want to just turn the chat on so they can hear this video, turn the stream on and listen to the sound so they can see this. There'll be a little bit of delay between this and then the guys on Discord responding to it. So have a look at this.
Hi, it's Liam from Boxley. Just doing a video from my room here in London whilst we're in lockdown. But I just wanted to chat a bit about using Doubler to control kind of more cinematic sounds and how you might use it for soundtracking and live scoring. So I've just been playing around with Doubler with Native Instruments' new Mysteria plugin. So if you guys don't know about Mysteria, it's this kind of cinematic instrument.
So I don't know whether it actually describes exactly what this is, but what he's about to use, and I'll keep playing the video, but what he's about to use a microphone that converts voice to MIDI. So you can beatbox into it, you can sing into it. It's got parameters to interface with something like Contact. So if you've ever been in the shower and you've hummed a masterpiece piece of music and you've thought, fuck, I wish I could just hum into Ableton and get like MIDI notes and control synths, look at this shit.
Which is based around sort of different choirs in the human voice and how the human voice is used to convey like emotion. So I thought it was quite fun to pair this with Doubler and how we use different parts of the voice as a MIDI controller. So in Doubler here, I've just got the pitch set with a key lock in C minor, and I can use that at my pitch to kind of control these different choirs. If I arm the track. What's really interesting about the Mysteria plugin is this X and Y pad in the middle, and this X and Y pad is what is used for the kind of emotive parts. So
right, so I don't know whether if you guys are interested, I can play more of that, but that gives you a little bit of an idea of what it's going to be capable of doing. Sorry, I think somebody chatted when I was talking and I didn't mean to interrupt them, but...
No.
Cool. So instantly I was like, holy shit, I could totally see how I could use this to make music more easily. What did you guys all get a chance to see what I was showing, and what do you think of it?
Yeah, I need it.
Cool.
Yeah, I've been looking for proper choir chants for a while now, and if I can make them myself, kind of get the vowels I want within that plugin, then yeah, it will be awesome.
Yeah, so I can't sing in pitch, but it's got built-in pitch correction, so I guess you can tell it what key you're in, and it's gonna just manipulate whatever note it's tracking from you speaking into the microphone. Yeah, it'll pitch it correctly, and then yeah, away you go. It's pretty crazy.
That's what Ableton do.
Sorry, mate, repeat that.
That's what autotunes do, right? You can use it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so an auto tune would traditionally do that, but it doesn't convert your voice to a MIDI note, so it doesn't try and recognize the pitch that you're at, and then place it. So yeah.
I think you could trigger some nice FM with that.
Fuck yeah. Exactly, dude. You like, if you have trouble like translating rhythms and stuff into Ableton, all of a sudden you can just be listening to your track and then you can go da 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 and like fucking sweet. You don't even need to have a lead sound designed already. You could sit down and you could beatbox out every like main element of the track as a kick and bass is playing. And then you could go back over it and just keep layering it with the microphone and doing like different little phrases and shit. Like, man, I just think that's incredible. Yeah, it's called Doubler. Here, let me link it in the. This is the company here that make it. I'll put it in the chat. I'm not affiliated with these guys at all, by the way. I'm not selling their products to you.
It needs contact though, right?
No. So that will control anything that accepts MIDI.
They sent a really interesting video on this topic. I will send it on general chat.
Yeah, send it.
This guy using his voice to make some squelch sounds. It's pretty funny.
Sick. Yeah, so I need to shoot to the bathroom, guys, but chat about it. I'll be back.
Wow, that looks expensive. £259.
Ooh.
You.
For the doubler.
Yeah, doubler
Damn.
studio kit. Yeah.
And I
Was it-
even can't sing. I don't even know if that's supposedly $250. That's pretty expensive for me.
In pounds, right?
Oh,
In
Jeez.
pounds, wow. That's really expensive.
Yeah.
When I Google doubler, the first hit I get is some kind of chocolate shop in Switzerland. That's not what I'm looking for.
Well,
That's nice too.
maybe
Plug
that's
it
what we should
into
be
your
looking for.
computer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
found it. £259. I don't know. It's too expensive.
It seems
Currently
you
too expensive.
yeah. It seems you get the microphone too.
Yeah, I think that's a particular microphone though. Like you need that. It's the MIDI controller, the microphone.
Ah.
I don't think the
Oh.
plugin could work without that, if I understood
Yeah.
correctly.
But then the
It looks
question
like
is,
the
can you
Sorry.
use the microphone as a normal mic as well, or is it only? Oh wait, it says so in the description.
I really don't know.
Basically, I think it functions as a normal mic as well.
Yeah, it just says the doubler microphone. What's in the box? The doubler software and the doubler microphone. Low latency custom USB mic to guarantee optimal performance.
Yeah, it seems to be just a regular microphone.
Yeah, with their logo on it. Yeah, it's all on that website. It's posted.
Cheers, boys.
Nice marketing. Yep. And he's back.
Get on that fucking voice to MIDI bandwagon, boys. Shit. We're gonna be doing what Infected Mushroom we're already doing 10 years ago, 20 years
You
ago.
can use an iPhone voice recorder for that.
Yeah. Now this is
Dooftap uses an iPhone, well, the newest iPhone now probably, but he just uses that mic and then they transfer it to the computer.
put it in manipulator. Fucking Bob's your uncle. Do you think that they actually use manipulator? I know that. Okay, here you go, guys. Plugins that are endorsed by Infected Mushroom. Do you think Infected Mushroom actually use them?
Yeah, they use them all the time.
Yeah,
the
massively.
album, what was the other? Return to the Sauce. Basically, everything on that album was made using Doofdev's voice and manipulator only, except for the kick and some percussion and sometimes the bass. Basically, it was one big advertisement for the manipulator plugin. Basically, lately they've been making all their lead sounds with I Wish, Manipulator, Comet, all those Polyverse plugins they
Exactly. They route their
promote.
instrument through manipulator to get that special sound.
That special sauce, man.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's so I think it's their go-to plugins nowadays.
All right, boys. Here's another question for you. What's your favorite song at the moment? Not genre specific. Tell me what your favorite track is. Link it to me. Yeah, tell me and I'll look it up and then I'll link it in the chat. So starting, who wants to start?
Don't really know my favorite.
Yeah.
Difficult question.
You don't have a favorite song?
I probably I'm listening to this one a lot, which is Outsiders and Dexter's Strange Goblin. Like, I linked it in the general jam.
Okay, I'm gonna drop that.
Dixter.
We
I'm, like,
all
addicted.
love Dexter.
I'm addicted to this bass line. Like, really.
Oh, I'm gonna have a listen to it then. Okay, here we go. There you go. This is Gail's favorite track at the moment. Well, maybe not his favorite track, but he's listening to it a lot. Anybody got anything else they want to share?
Yeah, here we are.
What you got? What you got? Well, here we what? Here where?
Sorry, I just stuck it into the chat there. The should I be using the YouTube chat? No.
If it'll let you. I don't know whether it'll let you drop a link in there.
Yeah, it does. Did it?
Give it. I don't see it. I don't see it.
I can't see any right now.
Okay.
Fucking malfunction. Oh shit! I can't edit that out, can I?
Nope.
Oops. Sorry, guys. That's
Shit happens.
Okay, I have a mute button as well. Didn't even use it. What a snob. I've started editing my burps out of my videos now because I can tell a lot of people have a very high response to disgust when I do stuff like that. So
I mean, there's bigger problems in the world, man. I mean, fuck that shit.
I had this guy that lost it at me for doing something, and he told me that my entire audience was gonna leave because I'd done something in particular.
Really?
And nobody had ever pointed it out to me. What did I do? I think it was that
I don't think
burped.
that's a problem. No, I don't think that's a problem. No.
Yeah, well, some people find problems with a lot of things, all things.
Yeah.
Here we go. We got a guy asking a question. How about someone using Live, Push 2, Launchpad, Pro, or APC? What would you recommend to be the most versatile with Live? Push 2. Boom. Straight away.
Period.
Push 2. There's not even a question. It's made for it. It literally is a direct interface into Ableton. Here we go. I've got one here. Let's look at it. It's fucking heavy though. So if you're gigging, this is a pain in the ass to carry around in a backpack. But this thing, dude, it's without a doubt. I actually have all three of the things you mentioned. I have this, I have an APC, and I've got a launch pad somewhere.
What's that in the back of you, Andrew? I've never seen that device before. Behind you.
You haven't watched my DJ videos, have you, son?
No.
Yeah.
I have to admit
he
that.
doesn't use Ableton though.
Yeah. So this is an APC 40. It's made by Akai, and it's got the Ableton logo on it instead of the FL Studio logo.
Okay.
Hey guys, I'm leaving.
Just by the way, guys, so the cool thing about Collective Intelligence is that not everybody that comes and joins the community actually even uses Ableton, and I think that's really sick because obviously all of my videos are Ableton related.
What's Ableton?
Exactly. They don't even know what Ableton is. So it just goes to show that it transcends. It doesn't matter what door you use. Like everybody can connect through the fact that they simply just love music and want to make music. So
yeah, exactly. But I still want to add FL Studio still king. You know what I'm saying?
FL Studio is king. Yeah, we'll give them that.
Just kidding.
I really think more people in the world probably do use FL Studio. So,
I guess.
And yeah, so the Launchpad. The Launchpad, out of all three of them, I'd say the Launchpad's the. I'm not a big fan of the Launchpad.
What do you use for playing live sets?
What do I use?
Yeah.
The APC, but I'm probably going to start using the push. I need to learn how to use the push.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to start doing like live streams and videos where I'm only using the push and I'm not touching my keyboard or mouse and making tracks. Probably not Psytrance because it's just too complicated. But for like, I really like dubstep and like broken beat, like dark sort of broken beat music. So I'm going to try and finger drum a little bit and play around with the push too. Jam it. I'm gonna link your track so people can actually find it on YouTube. I'll drop it in there for you.
Cool. Which one? The Jackson Pentagraph one?
Yeah.
No,
Is it on
I
YouTube actually?
Didn't realize it was on there. It's SoundCloud, but it might be on YouTube as well.
Oh yeah, well, I'm just looking and I can't find it anyway. So it doesn't work. So guys, who else has got some questions for us? Do any of you guys have things and stuff that you want to talk about?
Nope.
Did you come here to be entertained by me, or?
Yeah, sure.
I came here. I came here to be entertained by you.
Damn.
I suppose I could. I suppose I have some question.
Send it.
Well, it's has to do with I guess the attack on a Psytrance bass. Most tutorials using Serum, they create a bass patch. They do not modify the standard attack, which is about half a millisecond, I think. So basically, if you then render your bass out, you always have a little bit of latency between when the generator or the audio file starts and actually the transient occurs. So why not turn the attack all the way down?
Actually, it really depends on the waveform and the phase position. Because if the phase is starting at a zero crossing and you have a 0 millisecond attack, the loudest point of your bass will be a zero crossing. So, like, I don't know if you followed that, but the loudest peak of the ADSR would be on a zero crossing point. So that would be no attack at all. If you follow that.
Yeah.
But if you move the phase knob and the click starts at the beginning, there you could move the attack to catch that transient better. And actually, I found that sometimes working with zero crossing bass lines, moving the attack a little later, like 2 milliseconds, and catch that really high peak of the saw wave, that makes a really huge difference. And it's not because you make the attack the shortest that it will hit the harder. Like it really try to play with that, and you'll notice the difference if you move the phase and the attack. You'll be able to catch different pluckiness with that.
Oh, interesting. Thanks.
Gail, did you and sorry, Uncle, this is in response to your question, but I'll ask Gail whether he tried something. Did you watch that Eclipse video where he made that custom waveform? Did you try that?
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think?
I think it's definitely good, but I prefer to lower the first fundamental in the wave editor in Serum. It does approximately the same thing like the custom wave shape he makes.
Yeah,
it sounds a bit like it, but I still prefer the sound of lowering. I can't say that. The first fundamental.
Yeah. So what I noticed when I was trying to do it was that I could draw the waveform, and then I wanted to edit the waveform to lower the fundamental because I still felt like it had too much low end, and it wouldn't let me. It kept like jumping back and basically destroying the waveform that I was trying to make. I didn't go much further than my frustration kind of stopped me there, but
that's probably because you didn't refresh the wave editor. Like when you drew the custom wave shape, you then have to click on the little arrow that you have between. Yeah, okay, I see you on screen. Yeah, this arrow at the left of your serum. Do you see it or not?
yeah, you're talking about this one?
I have some latency. Yeah, this one.
Mhm.
When you draw your custom shape, then click on this one, and it will import the wave shape into this wavetable editor.
Yeah, yes, but see that?
Makes sense.
Yeah, you see on my screen? Did you see what happened?
Yeah.
It like instantly changes it to something different.
Okay. It actually just centered it, like, but I think it is the same.
Okay.
Right? It should sound the same.
Looks like, at least.
I think it's just adjust the phase, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Good night, everybody.
see you, dude.
Bye. Good day.
Right.
Okay, so if I do that and then if I go ahead and pull it down because I think it's still too loud at that point. So then that would be a waveform based upon the idea that he's doing. And then if I kept the random and the phase at the start, let's have a look at what this looks like actually.
Yeah.
If I sounds great. If I yeah. Get that motherfucker. So with the way that the attack looks on that now, if I just boost that, that's a bit aggressive. But would you guys at this point go in and move where it was starting from?
I would do that.
Sorry?
I generally do that. And move the bass to adjust to fit better the phasing.
So would you do this sort of thing and chop off the beginning? Like that?
Yeah.
Or would you?
I would try different stuff, different starts, but probably do something like that.
So it will always depend on that particular sound that you're making. It's not, you don't have a universal rule for how you approach it.
Oh, no.
Stanley has another question for you, Andrew.
Sounds pretty crappy, that one. I just wanted to play around with it. Would I ever make a tutorial for heavy bass drops, hardstyle, EDM? Really love the type of music, but I think you're the best teacher on YouTube. I mean, like I could do like dub. I could do a video that was purely just to get views. Like that's the only, Stanley, to be honest with you, that's the only that's what I would feel like I would be doing if I did a video on that, is making a video purely to get views. And that's not really why I make videos. And because I don't have a direct connection or passion to that style of music, I feel like it wouldn't be so authentic, me teaching it, and that I'm probably best to leave it to the people that really enjoy that style of music, and let them make it. Because I don't listen to enough of it to know all the elements that they use. Like I can guess they use snare rolls, they use white noise risers, they use like vocal chopped up, like to build energy, and then they silence it all, and then they just put a kick and a snare and bass, right? Like it's like the way that they work is they pack up, so much hype and then reduce it down to like very minimal elements to focus your energy and to make you do the bass face. I'm preparing a Forest Psytrance tutorial, and I want it to be like really in depth. So I'm studying Forest Psytrance tracks, and then making my sort of ultimate, like I'm going to cover each point. I'm going to cover like kick and bass to start with, talking about the synthesis, and then talking about like the rhythmic feeling, and then talking about the melodic movement. And then I'm going to talk about the drums. I'm going to talk about all of that. And then I'm going to talk about the atmospheres, talk about all that. So I'm going to go through like each kind of like group of instrumentation that's used in the style. And then I'll talk about like overall like editing techniques for like micro editing sort of things for like kick rolls and that kind of thing. And that's going to be based on like observing the style. I do have a deep, people don't realize this, like they think that I just like progressive psytrance because I get upset when
Of course you do, man.
Whenever people talk shit about progressive psytrance, I get upset about it. So people all think that I like love progressive psytrance and that's all I like. I actually really, really like Forest. I think it's probably my favorite style of psytrance. So I just don't make it because I don't, I feel like what the message I'm trying to transmit is better in the progressive world than it is in the Forest world. So that's why I do it there. But I really, really, really love Forest. And I would totally ghost produce for somebody if they wanted to buy Forest tunes from me. Sell out. Guys, do you want to buy my Forest tunes?
Nope. I don't listen to Forest.
I wouldn't pay money for your Forest tunes. I wouldn't even listen to them for free.
Yeah.
I would listen to them for free.
There is question.
We got Evgeny. Can you tell me, a beginner, how to put together a track from start to finish? After attempts to synthesize sounds, I can put a pattern. I can't develop it into a track. You can't get out of the loop. Dude, you need to stop taking acid then. Sorry. This is a serious question and I just, yeah. Boys, how do you get out of the loop?
There's this website called YouTube with the Collective Intelligence YouTube channel. They have a series on how to create a song from start to finish. I suggest watching that.
Man, I didn't even have to pay you to say that.
That's true. I mean, it's kind of a serious answer. A lot of the techniques or ideas are in there. So yeah.
Evgeny, I'll post to you the series that I do from start to finish.
Actually, what I would do when I have a loop
View.
that's
And
working, I would extend it for 64 bars, maybe a little bit more, and I would like erase stuff backwards. So I don't know how to explain it just orally, but yeah, starting at the beginning, you would have like one element playing, then 8 bars after that, I would add one, then add another one 8 bar later, and then I would make the evolution go towards that loop, that main theme that I have. And once you have a good working loop, you can easily go from nothing to that loop, if that makes sense.
So you go for
right?
Sorry.
So we
Apology
make that,
accepted.
some progression on the loop to get to the final form of that. Can give it different stages.
Yeah, I don't know how to explain it. I'll try to send you a screenshot, like visual representation of that. Let me try to do something quick. Oops.
Ringle Finch. Hello.
Sub Ringle.
So I'll link that into the Discord, so maybe you could show that on screen. Maybe, Andrew.
Yep. What do we got, bro?
So let's say that is the main loop, main theme.
All right, cool. Let me show it on the screen. Hang on.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, dude.
Okay, so let's call that the main loop. I would then do that. So like extend it before that. And I would then mute the elements and yeah, let me do this real quick.
Gail, you can share your screen, dude, if you want.
I can share screen on Discord.
I don't think that's really necessary, but yeah, the point is kind of easy actually.
Sure.
So
you're taking a subtractive approach to arranging a track.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It will be kind of easy to show like this, and it's up now.
Yeah.
So I just mute the element I don't want, and I constrict the track towards that main loop, and then I will drag it back down, then maybe do a break and constrict it towards another loop, and maybe the end, like deconstruct it another time, and end the track like this. Once you have a nice loop, it's kind of easy to do that.
Gail, I don't understand how you make music inside of this Ableton. It looks like there's something really wrong with it. All of the text is really fucked up.
What?
He's got a very
like
old
gibberish,
version,
man. It's like gibberish. Yeah. What is this? Dissective?
Now, this version of Ableton is from when before language was developed. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you say that you say it? Clip dissective?
Clip désactivé.
Whoa. Fuck.
Whoa. That's my little secret.
That's why your tracks are so good. Fuck, man.
You gotta be French.
Yeah. Cheeky.
Only
cheeky,
French
cheeky.
are good at Psytrance, man.
Baguette.
Fucking baguette, mate.
Je voudrais un croissant.
All right, keep throwing questions at us, guys. We're only just getting warmed up.
So I don't know who posted the question, but did that actually answer it?
Oh yeah, cool. Should we go back to that? Evgeny, am I pronouncing your name correctly? I feel like I am. Probably butchering it. He says thanks, so I presume
Oh yeah, okay.
he got the message. Yep. How do you use automation? Yeah, I don't know. When it's in French, it's just really confusing. I don't know how you use automation. I can show you. I can show you how to use automation, dude. I mean, I've got a whole video dedicated to it, but you know, like, what else? I'm not doing anything else. Sure. This is how you automate a parameter. So here we are with this very, very bad sounding bass sample that I just made, and I want to automate. So I can do a couple of things. I could press A on my keyboard.
Could press delete.
No, I just need to delete like my whole save project file folder. That's what I should be deleting. So press A to activate what they call automation. Guys, tell me, what's the difference between modulation and automation?
Oof, I don't know.
Oh, you ready? I'm going to answer that actually because I think that's very interesting, and I had to learn it because I was going through the Ableton manual, and yeah, apparently there's a difference. So, yeah, here you can see there's an orange line that runs through the middle of all, well, not all of, but most of my tracks now, and you can see this little window here. The first window is saying that something in the mixer is relating to this orange line. And then the second box says specifically what it is. So this indicates the mixer is where we are getting the orange line from. And then speak on is indicating exactly what in the mixing section this orange line is relating to. So if I change this to track volume, this control will now control the volume of the track, and I can grab it and pull it all the way down, and now you'll see it's at negative infinity, and then I can drag this end and I can pull it up to like 0 dB, and now from here to here the volume will change from negative, or from nothing to full volume, right? So that's how you use automation. And then if you don't want to see it anymore, you press that and it goes away. If you want to make another little lane, you can press the plus button there, and then it's always going to be there. And now we can come in here and we go, okay, I want to modulate something in the mixer, but now I want to do the track panning. And then I can draw a new panning and I can do that, right? That's how you automate. Okay, so the difference between modulation and automation is best probably described here. So if we go inside of Ableton's session view, and if I just delete all this shit, and then I go and I find a nice little sample. So let's take these. Right, so I've got this sample. And then I go into the envelope section here. What am I doing? Am I doing this right? Yes, I am, because that is showing me modulation. Cool. So when this is blue, what it's referring to is actually modulation rather than automation. And if I grab an auto filter and drop it on there, on the channel, and then I come back to the clip and I go inside of here, now I can select the auto filter, and now you see it's orange. So it's actually doing automation. So if I go and I go to the frequency, where is the frequency? Working on it. Frequency. I can have it go from low to high, right? But if I come back to the clip, I need to remember how to do this because I'm missing something. If I drag that over here, clip transmission. Why do I not see the modulation? Okay, I'm not going to be able to show you because I can't bring it back. So modulation is relating to... So automation is relating to a position exactly in time, right? So when we automate a parameter, we are telling it exactly whereabouts it should be in time. So if I grab this and I take it from negative 26 up to full power, the filter knows at every single point of the way exactly where it should be. And now I can actually see that modulation button has come up, and I don't know why it wasn't there before, but now I can click modulation. And now I can show you the example of what modulation is. So I just automated the control. Now I'm going to modulate the control. So modulation, I can do this. I can go up, down, and you'll notice it's percentage based. It's not telling an exact value. So what I'm doing here is I'm just going to tell the filter that it should move 50% positive and 50% negative. And then when I show you what happens on the filter, you may start to understand. So if I tell that clip to play, we don't see exactly what's going on. So I'll just stop the automation for now and come. So here, look at what the filter's doing. You don't see it actually happening here. You see it on the filter. And you'll notice that the filter is rapidly opening and closing, right? And if we go back to the modulation here, it's relating to this movement that I've drawn in. So modulation is moving the parameter just like automation is moving it, but automation moves it in a way where it always knows exactly where it should be. So it's a value, an absolute value, right? 842 up to 3021. But modulation is saying, okay, I don't care whereabouts you are in terms of your absolute value. I'm going to move 50% that way and 50% that way as you go on your journey. So you can modulate and automate a parameter at the same time. So if I come into here and I actually grab the values and I reduce them, so I just tell it to modulate a smaller amount, right? So it's not quite so dramatic. You can hear that there's constantly back and forwards LFO-like movement coming from the modulation, but the filter is gradually getting more and more open. So, yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah. I think someone just summed it up nicely in the chat. Automation
Cool.
is how you are affecting a parameter. Modulation is how much the automation affects the parameter.
I wouldn't say that that's a correct way of putting it.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So automation is where you are telling the control to be exactly over time. Modulation is a secondary influence not related to the value that you can have on a control.
Right.
So it doesn't have anything to do with how much automation is being affected on the parameter. Automation and modulation, for all intents and purposes, can be regarded as completely separate from each other. And Ty has made a good point. Oh, yeah, you can go up and down with automation. So, no, that's not a good point. But modulation is acting from the point at which the control is at. So we're either going positive or negative from that control position. Automation controls where the position is.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Also, I think for myself, I find myself getting a lot more control by automation something, and instead of using random LFOs or special related LFOs I assign to something. I don't know. It doesn't sound right to me, and I want the perfect control for everything. And so yeah.
We want
You guys
complete.
You guys can hear me clearly, right? I mean, I had some connection issue. All right, cool.
Sounds like you're using a proper mic.
I'm using my Logitech headset.
Well, it sounds better than my shitty laptop, I suppose.
All right. Yeah, many people told me that already. It has a decent quality on the microphone.
Yeah, it sounds really good.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad. I don't sound like a trashy robot or something like that.
No trashy robots allowed here, guys. All right, we got things going on in the chat. What's happening in the chat? What's happening? How to use automation? We've answered that. What exactly does reverb, wet, and dry do? Who wants to tackle that one?
Dry wet knob are a way to tell the reverb how much of the dry signal you let through and how much of the wet signal you let through. Dry signal being the unaffected signal, and wet would be the reverbed one. So a 100% reverb wet, you would only hear the reverb signal, and 0% wet, you would only hear the dry signal being the unaffected. So it's like how much do you want to hear the reverb in the end of the VST, of the reverb plugin. Am I correct?
Yep, that's it.
Yep, absolutely you are. So just to address half god, half beast, yeah, the manual is where I learned that from, and I'm very sure that the explanation that I gave is correct because I demonstrated it. Modulation influences the parameter based upon where it is positioned, and the exact position is what automation would tell it. Life in Fragments put a very good analogy. He said, so automation can be seen like, if related to a car, the destination between 2 points that you're traveling, but the modulations are the turns that are made on the steering wheel between those 2 points. And it's a pretty good way of thinking about it. You can have 100% wet and 100% dry on a device. You could have a send channel where 100% of the wet signal is present, and you could have a channel in your project where the snare was playing or whatever it is, where it was 100% dry. But there's always, you're always introducing a ratio there because you've got a reverb signal, you've got a dry signal. So technically you would always talk about those as a relationship between each other normally, so that you could represent how much the sound is being affected by the chosen effect.
Yeah, in the end, 100% wet plus a track with 100% dry would be like double of the signal with a 50% wet signal.
Yep.
Right, it would add up and it wouldn't sound right, but maybe for some special cases like ambient stuff, you could do that. I mean, it's just a way to you just have to balance it right and maybe compress it the right way, and it can sound decent, of course, also with 100% wet and 100% dry signal. All it matters is the balance between those two channels, and
Yeah, because I mean, if I had a sound that was 100% dry and then I made a version of it that was like 100% reverb, I would still mix the freaking volume of the reverb to match the snare. So there's still always going to be that sort of dry-wet relationship. So yeah. What plugins do I use on my master? I use SonarWorks and a limiter so that I don't clip and break everybody's ears when they're watching me. But otherwise, I don't use anything else. I don't mix into limiters, and I don't make tonal balances to my mixes with EQs. I don't compress my mix on the master either. I really like dynamics, so I try and maintain dynamics everywhere I can. And I feel like I'm getting pretty decent results from that mentality. But I can see the benefits of mixing into a limiter. And it's possibly something that I may start doing. But I have to get my head around how I'm going to do it where in a non-destructive kind of manner.
I'm actually not really mixing into a limiter, but I do some reality checks, if that's how you call them, where like I would usually mix with no effects on the master channel, but from time to time I would just check a limiter on there and push it a bit and give it some gain reduction to be a bit more abrasive and loud. Because when you do that, you basically change the volume balance, and some of the elements that you were thinking were sounding good and enough present in the mix, they get washed and just disappears in the sound when you push them through a limiter. Because in the end, even if you give it to a master engineer, he will eventually push it through any kind of compression and limiting. So if you don't do a little check from time to time, you may have some surprise in the end.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like to
Nasty
just
artifacts.
yeah,
You will maybe
yeah,
have nasty artifacts in the end. And I try to stay away from compression and limiting as much I can because it always ended up in a very bad way for me. I gave it to a master engineer and he mastered it on stream and live, and it sounded horrible to me. And it wasn't his fault. It was my own fault. And yeah, I nowadays I really try to stay away from all this, also from the loudness war. And it doesn't have to be loud, right? I mean, if it's not loud enough for you, go buy an amp and some better speakers, right? And you don't need to threshold the shit out of it and crank the ratio up only to get it loud. It will not sound right at the end. Just try to find some good headroom in your mix, and that's what I think is the best way to produce, and not to get it too clashy in the mix. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys.
yeah, it does.
Well, what kind of effects do you have on the master anyway? Do you have anything on the master end? At least
Wider.
in EQ or something? Yeah. Except for widen.
A couple widers, probably.
Decapitator. What
Some
else?
bit
Well,
push.
I mean, that's a serious question because I, for example,
I always
sorry, Alex. We're not. Okay, so
No,
serious
it's
answers.
fine. It's fine. I do mid-side EQing, for example.
Okay, so Alex, you do some EQ mid EQ, mid-side EQ.
EQing, yeah. Nobody's used doing that, or
No. So I do everything either on the sound or on the bus for the grouping of the sounds. But I typically leave the mastering engineer up for that. I try and get my mix as good as it can be without making overall tonal changes, because I think that I can fix everything on the individual element to fit in the mix. So if I can see something's not wide enough and I want to use a mid-side EQ to widen it, yeah, why wouldn't I either do that on the group or on the channel? Why would I go to the master to do that? So that's the way I think about it. How do you guys think about it?
Yeah, I can have a similar approach, and when I do my reality checks, I usually do some EQing, and like I try stuff. I would lower the mid volume or make the highs a little bit louder, and if it sounds good with this EQ on it, I would then tackle what are the problems and how can I address them in individual channels. If you see what I mean.
Yeah, gotcha.
Like it would be a microscope to enlighten me about my own mix.
What else we got, team? What else we got going on?
I have a question about the one last topic about the
Yep.
dry wet on reverb.
Mhm.
What's the difference between using a reverb on 50% dry wet and using that on parallel, both with the same volume?
What's
Did
the
you get
difference?
right?
Do
I
you
had
want
a
to say
hard
that?
time to understand it.
Yeah. Do you want to say that again? I just want to try and get my head around what you're asking.
If you use a reverb or a delay on 50% directly on the sound, or if you use a send with the same value of the original sound, what's the difference between those two ways of doing that?
Well, I guess if you use a reverb on the send channel, you have much more control of the reverb, firstly. And second, you can then process the reverb afterwards, like with an EQ or anything, or sidechaining the reverb, for example. If you do that directly on the channel where the instrument is lying, then you have a totally different sound than you do it when you do it on the send channel.
Yeah. So, Kadabra, were you asking in respect to maybe the sound, whether there would be any difference in the sound? Because if I'm thinking about that, you've got a reverb that's 50% dry wet directly on the sound, and then you've got a group rack, let's say, and you've got two chains, and then you've got the clean signal, and then you've got the reverb signal. On the reverb signal chain, is the reverb only 50% dry wet, or is it 100%?
100%.
Okay, so at that point, you've got 100% dry signal at 0 decibels playing, and then you've got 100%, sorry, did I say dry or wet? Either way, you've got both the dry and wet signal playing in parallel at 100%. So the difference would be that the reverb will be way louder than the channel in general, I think, would be way louder, I believe. And what Alex said is entirely correct. When you've got it either on a send or return channel or in a parallel chain, you can EQ it. You can process it until your heart's content. You can do things to it that won't affect the original sound. Does anybody else have more to put on that?
I usually found that working with reverbs on inserts, like on the track directly, it loses some impacts in the middle and it gets a bit more washed out.
Yeah, it
But
gets more
that's probably
muddy.
because I don't know how to set them correctly, but it's usually easier for me to get good results with reverbs on sends.
Absolutely, I agree to that.
Well, sorry, Gail, can you say that again, dude? You're finding it hard to get good results with reverbs on sends.
Yeah.
And sorry, could you go back into the reason why? I'm sorry, I zoned out a little bit. And
when I work with reverb onto the track directly and dialing the dry wet knob, I usually find it is a bit more washed out and I lose some power. If let's say if I put a reverb on the lead, for example, the lead will automatically be way less powerful than if I put send reverb.
Okay, sorry,
Yeah,
I got you the wrong way around.
You lose the initial power of the instrument that you have on the track. When you put it on a send channel, the reverb is much smoother and the original instrument is not as much affected as if you put the reverb directly to it.
Yeah.
That's at least my experience.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, something I usually do is I would sidechain the reverb send to the lead bus, So whenever a lead plays, and it will duck the reverb. So this way the reverb would shine only in the empty moments of the lead, and that gives a lot more air to the lead.
Yeah, you don't want
way
the
more
full.
clear this way.
Yeah, you don't want the full reverb effect when the actual instrument or synth is playing. You want it afterwards, otherwise it will just clash together and it will not sound right.
Yeah, exactly.
I like to use this trick as well. It's a nice trick. And I only use sound effects. I never. Yes.
You can use the pre-delay for that too. You don't need actually just sidechain.
Would you guys sidechain the sound before the reverb or after the reverb?
After the reverb.
Cool.
So the reverb gets stuck. And the pre-delay, I don't know if it would work that way, because let's say for a one shot it would be okay, because you have the sound that hits, then the pre-delay would come in nicely and slowly, so it gives nice sidechain effect. But if you have like melody playing, the pre-delay from the first sound will work, but the loudness of the reverb would be at the loudest point when the second hit of the melody would play. So
yeah, and another nice trick I figured out is if you set the sidechain signal yourself, like a separated track in the mix, nobody says the trigger has to be on the one. It can even be less before the one, right? So this way you will get a lot faster attack, and the release is also not a problem anymore. If you guys get what I'm saying, let's say you have a kick like 1, 2, 3, 4, and you would use on every second kick you would use a trigger to sidechain something, and you find yourself it's not fast enough, and you could just set the trigger like 30 milliseconds back, and it will be a lot faster if you can't reach the exact attack moment. That's how I work. Nobody says it has to be on the one. You can even set the trigger light before it, and yeah, it works great for me. Even on especially in cases where the sidechain needs to be fast, and yeah. And most of times I find myself 50 milliseconds. This is what Reason can do on the lowest setting on attack for compression. It's not fast enough, and I have to do it this way. And I actually got this trick from a documentary from David Guetta a long time ago, and since I know that it's amazing technique and it works great, and I'm so happy I saw this video, even though I'm not into this music, right? And it's just sometimes you have to dive into other genres to find some other good tricks, and it works for Psytrance as well. It's a nice thing.
Yeah, sure.
All right, end of story. Sorry.
What else we got? What were we going to talk about? Oh, we're going to talk about EQing the bass line independently if we got a bass line that plays different notes.
Sorry, what was the question?
So we mentioned that we might be keen on talking about whether we should EQ bass notes independently if we have a bass line that's playing different notes. So whether we've got like a track that's in the key of E, so the fundamental note or the home note that we're always using the bass line's E, but then we might use, E an octave above, or, a tenth, other notes in the scale along with that to create like rhythmic and melodic movement in the bass line. Would we EQ those other notes independently? And if so, how would we handle doing that in the best way?
We'll cry.
Yep.
It sounds crazy, but yeah, sorry, you can.
No, go ahead.
It sounds it sounds crazy, but I usually use another synth for every step. I mean, if you have 3 steps between the kicks, I use 3 synths, 3 separated synths for it. It gives me a lot more control, and I can just EQ each step separately without touching the first step. And yeah, I like to do it as well with the kicks. I always separate them in 3 different tracks, so the pumpy one, the mid, and the high, and that's what I do with bassline as well, because it gives me a lot more control, especially the first hit after a kick. I always completely remove the low end because it gives a lot more space for the kick just to involve itself, and it's a great technique. For me, it works great, and you actually only have 2 last hits, which gives you the bass pumping sound, and it works great for me. Of course, it's a matter of taste. Yeah, that's what I do.
I would probably do some different EQing if I only have, let's say, 2 or 3 bass notes across the track. But I'm not gonna lie, I usually have melodies playing in the bass, and I'm way too lazy to EQ them, like EQ them all. But I should do that because I end up using a lot of multi-band compression and multi-band processing to keep the low end tight and to not have too much dynamic in the lowest fundamental, because each note you will play with the same synth patch would have louder or lower volume depending on the note you are hitting. So I'll have to work a lot on that afterward. So maybe I could EQ them all separately and then do some multi-sample bass patches. I did that once or twice, but it takes so much time and I'm way too lazy to do that.
You can
But
EQ the root note and then do another EQ for the melody notes. So the root note would be the lowest one if you are doing this way, and you can take the low frequency of the root note. The other ones will not have that much low end, so you can do another EQ for that, and you don't have to make one EQ for each note you're playing, just one for the root note or the lowest note, and one for the others if you want to cut this processing. I think it's a good idea.
yeah, probably. But even if the lowest note is the lowest note, I still have quite some low end across the other melody notes. It's not because I play my track across E key. Even if I play A hit on bass, it will still have low end on it, right? So I don't know how I could tackle that precisely.
So if you're listening to the kick and bass and you feel like when those other notes play, they could be enhanced, maybe I would go to the effort of EQing it. But if I'm listening to it play, even with the EQ that's on it, that's basically trying to address the problems in the fundamental bass note that's more consistently playing, if I thought there was a problem, then I would separate everything onto different channels and I would EQ them independently. And there might be a way where you can split the different notes. Yeah, I feel like there's a way you could set up a chain selector if you still had everything in MIDI, that you could split it so that when this MIDI note plays, it gets this EQ in a sort of way that you're setting up chains, right? I'm going to actually try and do it because I think this is possible, and it might be an easy way where if we like to work in MIDI and we don't want to commit, you can actually set up the chain selector with keys. So if you guys watch my screen, I'm going to try and do it. This could fail, so it could be juicy. So I'm going to go together. Yeah, let's go fail together. So
why not using dynamic EQ? So whenever your melodic bass notes hits, you EQ that with a dynamic EQ.
Yeah, I mean that's totally possible. So let's say we've got 3 different serums, right? I guess that's a lot of processing that some people don't want to do. Serum 1, serum 2, serum 3, and key tracking is turned on. So when so we're working G0. So when G0 is triggered, that serum plays. When let's say we'll just say when D plays, that serum is used. And then when the upper G, maybe we need to use F to be in key. And then when that one plays, that serum is used, right? So then I need to...
We can't see your screen, actually.
You need to share your Ableton screen.
I was about to say.
Yeah, me too. I thought with the delay between Discord and YouTube was this large. I was waiting for the Ableton to pop up.
Right.
For me, there's like I think a 12-second delay between what I hear through Discord and what's shown on YouTube.
Okay, so what I'm doing here is I've got the first bass note in G0. I've got the second bass note in, let's put it in F, and then I've got the third bass note in G, right? So they're all hitting different notes. And then I've made an instrument rack, and I've got serum, serum, serum. And let's say they're all playing the exact same bass patch, right? It's the same sound. You could do this with a sampler. You could do this with whatever else you want to use as well. So then when we just play this bass note, only this channel and that serum makes the sound. Then when we play this note, only that serum plays that sound, right? So each note is going to get played by a different serum. So, and then we go Pro Q3 on the first one, and we EQ that for that one. We go Pro Q2, and we do EQ for that one, right? And then we can EQ all of them differently. That's one way to do it with MIDI, but the downside to that is that you've got 3 serums playing simultaneously, which could be a little bit harsh on your computer.
Oh, I wish it would be that easy in Reason.
What do you think about that, guys? I really need to go to the bathroom, so I want to hear your opinions on that, but I want to just use the bathroom and come back. Okay, be right back.
All right.
I would say it's pretty hard to EQ that.
How did you say?
What did you guys said?
I said it will be pretty hard to EQ that unless you use a dynamic EQ.
Well, EQ is one part of the problem, but I still think the processing afterward needs to be tuned too. So yeah, it could take a lot of time anyway.
Yeah, multiband saturation like Saturn. It works well for one note or maybe one octave. But when you go to the second octave, you get a pretty tune problems with that. So you probably need to make multiband processing in each note too. It will be a pretty hard work. Much stuff happening.
Well, that would be pretty hard, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, I faced some tune problems because of that. I was using 2 octaves on a bass, and Saturn was making me have some tune problems. So I would probably want to process each note, or maybe one octave and the other differently.
I have another question for you guys. Recently, I watched a video about making a Psytrance bass. I guess it was one of Protoculture's videos or Marula. Don't remember correctly right now. And he had like another approach on shaping the bass sound where he didn't use the envelope 1 or envelope 2, but rather he used the 2 LFOs in envelope mode. Do you guys
Yeah.
have any clue what's the advantage of that or the purpose of that method?
He can draw in absolutely any shape that he would want. So in the envelope, you're limited still to the idea of ADSR, but with the LFO, you can really draw intricate shapes. So that's maybe what I think. Yeah.
I think Dash
Okay.
actually has a video on the Psytrance bass using the LFO as well.
I used the LFOs for a very long time, and they are very handy because you can make the bass patch tune to your BPM very easily. Let's say you choose 1/16 on your LFO, then it will always be 1/16, depending on the BPM you choose, and that's quite handy when you want to change the BPM of your track, or I don't know, any reason of you reuse that in another track maybe. And yeah, it can really give you a lot more flexibility concerning the envelope shape.
Yeah, and I can imagine you can glue it very well with the kick together. I mean, if you are able to draw the shape yourself, you can basically make it fit with the kick very well, and afterwards you don't need to do rocket science of compression anymore because it already sounds tight, and I think it's a nice way. Yeah.
Okay, guys. I think that's going to be about it for me. It's almost midnight here in Melbourne. So I may bow out and end the stream shortly.
Okay.
How'd you guys enjoy that? Did you have fun chatting?
Was a pleasure, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun, huh?
Yeah,
It's nice.
was cool. A lot of interesting stuff.
Yeah, I'm really pleased that
Absolutely.
you guys came and had a chat with me and chatted to the guys in the stream chat. So I hope there'll be heaps of people that'll watch this after it's live as well. So hopefully they all take a lot from it too. And yeah, I really appreciate it. What did you guys think for the Ableton users? This might apply a little bit more, but what did you guys think about that that chain thingy that I did? Do you think that could be useful, or it's kind of like too much processing? Or
Yeah,
Could be
as
really
we were
useful.
saying, that it's cool when you only have an EQ to put on, but as soon as you introduce multi-bin phasing and multi-bin compression and all that, you'll have afterward to tune it back to each note hit. So in the end, that's almost same processing as if you were doing multi-sample stuff, because
yeah,
you will automatically need to set the right frequency for each parameter you put on, and yeah, it's a lot of work.
yeah, no, it's definitely not going to get around that problem.
But that's handy though. I didn't know there were a key selection and not just the chain selector.
Yeah,
That's quite
yeah.
nice.
Yeah, so soon I'm going to have probably next week, actually, it'll be my like advanced Ableton video. So over the last few weeks, I had been reading the Ableton manual and studying quite a bit. And I learnt some interesting things that aren't shown very often or aren't shown at all in videos. And I know that some people argue that Cubase is better than Ableton based upon one particular thing. And I found out that Ableton can actually do it. So I thought that was very curious.
Are you talking about the FX selection in the session view or not?
No, but I know that you can get the extension thing that does that, can't you?
Yeah, it's some text file you have to change to access that.
Yeah, no, but I maybe could show that in the video as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'll outline it in the video and I'll show you. I don't want to spoil it before I put the video out. So
problem. Yeah.
yeah, cool. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off for now. Thanks heaps to Alex, Cadabra, Ringle, Thalamus, Uncle Butt for joining me. We had a few other guys along the way as well. If you're watching this after the video's live, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're watching it live now, I hope you enjoyed the stream. And thanks very much for joining us. We'll probably do this again next week. So if you have questions and you want to pick our brains live, you can come and ask us in the chat. So cool. Thanks again, guys. And I will see you again very soon.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye, guys.
Later.
Bye-bye.